So the point being that that's the essential foundation of the argument I'm making, is that capitalism on a world scale.
But do you not see?
Just let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying. Capitalism on a world scale, in the advanced capitalist countries and in more backward countries, is in a global crisis. And therefore the contention that China's economic growth is caused by capitalism must mean either there's some special capitalism in China, unique in human history, or that China is not capitalist, which is the contention I'm making, because the banks and the industries in China are owned by the state, the key industries. What does that mean? If you look in The Economist last week, you look on the internet, on The Economist, on their latest article on China, it says, the reason China's economy is expected to grow by more than 8% this year is because the government tells the banks and tells the industries to invest. Now, capitalism, I ask you this, what capitalism is it where the government tells the banks and tells the industries to invest, and they do? Why is it there's more bank lending in China in the last 3 months than in the rest of the world?
What, Ted Heath did try getting people to do things.
Yeah, but speaking about now.
My friend, we're talking about the world situation today.
Well, the fact is,
Germany is the second or third richest country on the planet, and yet its economy is collapsing.
the reason is because the banks have their money, they're bankrupt.
I mean,
Well, this is what I said. The banks are privately owned.
But do you not see the dialectical nature of
You
your
ask
documents?
lot of a question, you don't
Back in the
answer any
No,
of them.
Gentlemen.
nonsense. You don't even see the dialectical nature.
Internal labour force and a huge external market, which is the rest of the world. That's the bit. No, but you asked why they grew.
Firstly, China has a huge, what was it, labour force you said? Internal labour force. So does India.
Everyone knows.
So does the world. We know we live in the era of globalization, which means that any company can set up shop anywhere, and they have. By the way, the main problem in China today has been that in the last year or so, companies have left China and moved to Vietnam, Bangladesh, Haiti, South America, because there the labour is cheaper. They don't have a labour law which guarantees that workers have rights, whereas in China they do. The consequence of that is that many companies found that the labour in China was too expensive on the world marketplace. So the argument that it is cheap labour that's the foundation for China's economic growth is not correct. Second argument was there's a huge external market. The external market has collapsed. On a world scale, demand for products, particularly from Chinese products, has collapsed. Guangdong province, the main area for exports, has had a huge spate of layoffs. Around 10 million people have been made unemployed in the last 6 months. 67,000 factories have been closed down.
Well, doesn't that contradict what you say?
However, what it indicates is also the fact that China's economy has reorientated towards expenditure on fixed investments, on roads, on hospitals, on building, on rebuilding the area destroyed by the earthquake, on building airports, building railways, indicates that it has the resources at the command of the state to invest on demand. Whereas in America and in Britain, they turned around to the banks, don't you remember, in the autumn, and they said to them, the banks should not lose confidence, they should keep lending. And then the business minister was brought in, Lord Mandelson. Why don't the banks lend? He calls them to a meeting. He says, lend. And they don't. Because the government, even though now the government owns the banks, still they don't control the banks. Because the banks are controlled for private profit, rather than for the benefit of state planning. And that, you see, is the distinction. And it's a clear distinction.
Can we go back regarding China? Is that because they concentrated on education and they've got the massive numbers of their population now educated to more than the West? The West is lagging behind now. in terms of education?
I don't believe that's correct,
Higher
actually.
literacy.
China has got, even though it's got a high literacy rate, the expenditure on education has actually been relative to the economic growth has not been growing sufficiently. Neither expenditure on education nor expenditure on healthcare. These two issues are burning issues in China, which motivate people to protest against the government and against the way it operates. Because the government many people within the government in China are leaning to see how they can get their pockets filled. On the contrary to what the gentleman here is saying, one of the main problems in China is the rising inequality. So those people who've acquired millions or even billions in China are a hindrance to economic development. And that is recognized by the mass of the population. That is why the government maintains its so-called communist credentials, because it fears the mass of the working class, who are enormous working class. Marx said the working class is the agency of revolution. And in the last 30 years, the working class of China has expanded by over 300 million. That's more than the total workforce of Europe or America. In fact, nearly more than both put together. And that expansion of the working class has created enormous power in the hands of the working class to control the destiny of their country and the destiny of the planet. That is why the Communist Party maintains its name and its official adherence to socialism.
Do you know, there seems to be an interesting relationship between the strength of the economy and a space program, because you were saying earlier that in the 60s Russia's economy became weak as a result, and that this proceeded to them going into space. Same thing seems to have happened with China. China embraced the space program. Same thing happened to America after 1969. You had a great big American recession in the 70s.
The space program is a battle for prestige. The rulers of the key countries in the world both want to show their ability to go into space, and the other thing they want to show is their ability to blow up the planet. And so you inevitably get the attempt to send satellites or rockets into space or humans into space, and you also have the same attempt to create weaponry which is able to destroy the planet. Thus you see the rulers of China last week had a huge parade where they observed the Navy. Well, what's that about? What is it about? He who controls the seas controls the planet. That's the truth. And for that reason, because America controls the seas today, in spite of the economic problems in America, they're still able to maintain global domination, because they can maintain the shipping lanes to serve the interests of American consumers and American companies. The objective, of course, of the bureaucracy in China is to challenge the position of America and undermine its influence across the world. And that, of course, is the battleground, a similar battleground to that was fought in the 1950s, 60s and 70s between the Soviet Union and the United States of America in that period.
You don't see the intellectual bankruptcy.
What intellectual bankruptcy? If you specify what it is, I might be able to see it.
The intellectual bankruptcy, you talk about the internal workforce, the Chinese internal workforce, contrasted with the external workforce. The fact is, with the external markets, I'm sorry. Now, the fact is, the Chinese economy can't grow at the rate it has done over the past few years, given the recession. The fact is, China isn't recession-proof. And figures given to you by the economists is totally false. It cannot grow by 8%.